So good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this webinar on the Strategic Research and Innovation Agenda on Batteries, which is organized by BEPA, the Batteries European Partnership Association. I see that the numbers are still evolving, but I think that today we will be at least already now more than 200 people on the call. And I think this is a quite nice testimony of the high level of interest that the community has for research and innovation as a way towards higher performance and more sustainable and more circular batteries made in Europe, the European way, I would say. If we can go to the next slide. Can I have the next slide? Yes, so this is the program of this short 90-minute session that we are going to have together. We can go to the next slide. And this is where I want to spend a couple of minutes with you. So for those of you who are new to this community, I'd like you to go away with two acronyms that you master perfectly. The first one is BAT for EU that you can see on the slide. This is actually the name of the partnership on batteries, which is funded by the European Commission under Horizon Europe. And then you will see in the middle of the slide another acronym that is BEPA, and BEPA is the name of the legal entity operating as an association under Belgian law. And BEPA is the legal entity representing the private side of this public-private partnership which we have with the EU being, of course, the public side of the equation. And the partnership is benefiting from the very generous funding of up to 925 million euro for the period 21-27. And the, I would say, commitment of our group is that through the 200 plus members that we have, be it industry, research organizations or association, we aim at BEPA to be investing a similar amount through in-kind additional activities. So that's it for the two acronyms that I wanted to talk about. We can move to the next slide, which is obviously what do we want to do? What is the vision that we have? And the vision that we have for the partnership is to establish a competitive and sustainable European battery value chain for mobility, obviously, but also for stationary applications to enable a more green grid. And how do we do that? Through three key objectives. The first one is to support the development of differentiating technologies across the value chain with a focus on battery materials, cell design and manufacturing, and then very important, obviously, the recycling of these batteries into the starting blocks to have a circular economy. The second key objective is to accelerate innovation and deployment of these technology solutions for clean mobility, and of course also develop affordable batteries for the stationary energy storage applications that we all need for the grid to be as independent as possible in terms of power supply to Europe. We can go to the next slide because this is what you all came for, I would say. This is SRIA, and the SRIA, it's the last acronym maybe that I want you to remember. It stands for Strategic Research and Innovation Agenda. And this is really the agenda that is going to guide the R&I priority along the battery value chain for the years to come. So this is a publication that is there to advise on future research and innovation actions and the funding needed. This is the hard work of more than 500 experts that have been gathering over the past, exchanging views, and it has been done under BEPA and Batteries Europe working groups. And this is actually not the first SRIA, but this is the latest SRIA. This is the second that we have published, and this is really benefiting from a real update on what we consider as priorities for the future. If you have not read the SRIA yet, this is perfectly okay, but you have no more excuse because you have the QR code on the slide and you can download it with your iPhone and you can read it whatever your public mode of transportation If we go to the next slide, this is really for me now my pleasure and honor to welcome to this event Mrs. Rosalinde van der Vlies from the European Commission, from DG R&D, so DG Research and Innovation. And Mrs. van der Vlies is actually the director of the Clean Planet Directorate. So she has a very good position, good central position to oversee a lot of what is happening in Europe in the field of mobility and energy. She has been in the European Commission Directorate General for Research and Innovation. She's also the Deputy Mission Manager for the Climate Neutral and the Smart Cities Mission. And before the appointment as Director, she was the Head of Coordination and Interinstitutional Relations Unit, acting as the Head of Communication and Citizens Unit. Previously, she has been in other DGs such as DG Environment, DG Justice and Home Affairs, and in the private office of Mr. Potocnik, that some of you may know, he was the European Commissioner for Environment and a very strong advocate of a circular economy. So I wish you all a very productive and interesting webinar, and I'm very happy now and honored to give the floor, to give the digital floor, if I may say, to Mrs. van der Vlies. So Mrs. van der Vlies, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much for the kind introduction, Fabrice. It's for me a real pleasure and honor to be here with you virtually this morning. A very important and milestone to have achieved the new Strategic Research and Innovation Agenda for batteries. So I would like to start by really congratulating everybody who has been involved in this. And I'm also very pleased that today it's also a very sunny day in Brussels, at least, and that has the side effect I'm a bit in the dark, so I'm sorry for that, but that's just because my back is enjoying very much the sun here. So could not be a better day to have this event in Brussels. And also, Fabrice, I think it was really excellent that you started this event by explaining some acronyms, because I remembered when I started working in the Directorate General for Research and Innovation, I was completely lost in acronyms. And I have to admit that sometimes I still am. So I thought it was an excellent way of starting this event. So now I can actually use these acronyms myself without translating them. So again, I would like to congratulate everybody who has been involved in the updated work of the Strategic Research and Innovation Agenda, the SRIA, in particular BEPA and the ETIP Batteries Europe. And I think we can all be very proud of the results. I think the updated SRIA represents a very balanced view between what the entire value chain needs, and also it is very well representing the needs of the industry and the research needs, and also provides a very good compass both for the intermediate and also longer term actions. So I'm sure that you will be diving into detail in the elements of the SRIA today. So by way of opening, I will simply focus a bit on some priorities for the European Commission. Before doing that, let me just remind everybody of the current geopolitical context that we are in. We can say that ever since we started with our partnership on batteries, the situation has changed profoundly. China has become even more dominant, not only for batteries, also for electrical vehicles. Also, the US, on the other side of the Atlantic, is become more serious, in particular with the Inflation Reduction Act, which is really also taking away some of the battery investments that could be made in Europe now to North America. So from the European Commission side, it is really important for us that we have a regulatory framework for the battery industry that is really supporting the battery industry. And we are very happy with the adoption of the new battery regulation in July last year. And we are even more proud that the partnership will be playing a very important role to ensure compliance with these new rules that we have in the European Union, and that the work of the partnership will also very strongly contribute to some other political priorities that we have been translating into law, such as the Critical Raw Materials Act, that will also be focusing, amongst others, more on the recyclability. So I would really congratulate the partnership for responding also to the new and refined political priorities that we have in the European Union, also partly as a response to the new geopolitical context. I'm a firm believer that the partnership will play a very crucial role to make sure that we can accelerate the compliance with the new regulatory framework we have in the European Union. Now, apart from this contribution to the political priorities and the compliance with the regulatory framework, let me also highlight 3 other priorities where I also believe that the battery industry will play a crucial role. And these priorities are competitiveness, inclusiveness, and impact. So regarding the competitiveness, it's very clear for the European Commission that the sustainability and competitiveness go hand in hand. So this is why our European Green Deal, it's not only a sustainability strategy for the EU, where we have the ambition to become the first climate neutral continent in the world by 2050, but the European Green Deal is also our growth strategy. Fabrice, you mentioned I had the great honor and pleasure to work with Janez Potočnik, and this is now more than 10 years ago, but already 10 years, Mr. Potočnik was very clearly saying that sustainability and competitiveness are 2 sides of the same coin. So what can we now do to really enhance this competitiveness of our European industries? Well, first of all, I believe that we need to make sure that we have a seamless link between research, development, and then deployment and scaling up. So really bringing the results from the research to the market. Also, I believe that we need to continue to develop, well, focusing, of course, on making our existing technologies that we have in Europe more efficient, more cost efficient also. But of course, we also need to continue to push for the development of new battery technologies, and in particular those that do not depend on the critical materials and that we can really source locally. Because of course, reducing our dependencies will also support the competitiveness of our European industries. And also, we need to be flexible and agile. We need to be ready to quickly adapt to manufacturing and recycling. And I don't need to convince everybody here in our virtual room that batteries are evolving very, very quickly, and it will be very important for us to anticipate an even broader range of chemistries, compositions, and packaging for the future. And fourthly, I think it's important, linked to the competitiveness, that we have the skilled workforce in the European Union. So reinforcing the links between research and industry, which is really at the heart of the partnership, I think will be also very important to attract, train, and keep the researchers in Europe. And we need to really make sure that we can continue to build this skilled workforce, also focusing on the younger generations. Then a few words quickly on inclusiveness, because it's very clear that we will not be successful with our European Green Deal ambitions in the European Union if we don't have the support of our citizens. And also here, I believe that the partnership and the battery industry can really support making also batteries cheaper. That will also facilitate then the affordability of the transition. And linked to that, also to win the support of the citizens, it will be also very important that whatever product or technology we bring to the market is safe and trustworthy and really complying with our safety and sustainability framework. So we will need to continue to improve, of course, our battery manufacturing processes, reducing demands and replacing the environmentally harmful substances. Lastly, a few words on impact. And for the impact, I really believe that we need to maximize the investment opportunities that we have in the European Union. And there are many ways of doing this. From the European Commission, one of our priorities is to align and better align the EU funding and investment instruments that we have, such as Horizon Europe, Innovation Fund, Invest EU, so that we can really make sure that our investment programs reinforce each other. Zooming in now more on the Horizon Europe partnerships, I'm really very pleased that the battery partnership is a front runner in finding synergies with other partnerships, such as the partnership that we have on clean aviation and the 2.0 partnership focusing on reducing emissions from the road transport. So again, big congratulations and thank you for that, because in the European Commission, we believe, linking initiatives together, be it EU funding instruments or different partnerships, it will really maximize the impact of our investments. Lastly, for the Commission, it's also important that we are very well aligned with the research and innovation investments that take place at the national level with the member states. And also here, I believe that the battery partnership can really help us to also make sure that we align our research and innovation agendas with the strength and the investment priorities that are going on at the national level. So to conclude, I think we can all be very proud of the work that has been done so far. I believe that the updated SRIA will really recharge our efforts to build a sustainable, inclusive and competitive European battery industry. It will accelerate the implementation and compliance with our regulatory framework. It will enhance competitiveness, support inclusiveness and impact. These are really our key words for the future. So let's keep this momentum and continue our efforts to put Europe on the global map of the battery producers. And if I may just conclude, Fabrice, with a small request to all of you. Because I believe that the European battery industry is delivering a message of hope for the future. And when I speak to my family members, I feel also, and a lot of citizens, there is a lot of fear and a lot of pessimism in our society, a lot of fear for the future. And I do believe that research and innovation can be a token of hope for the future, where we can really, also tell a positive message about what we are doing in a collaborative, way within the European Union, bringing together entire value chain and really working for a better future. So I would really ask your support and help in order to communicate this message of hope, in particular of what the battery industry is doing, to an external audience. And Fabrice, you mentioned 3 objectives that you have for the partnership. And I think it would really be helpful if you could help us translate these messages into some quantitative targets that have been achieved, that are easily understandable by a general public, because I believe we are doing great things, and it would be really great if this message would reach also a larger audience in the European Union. So I will stop here. Thank you so much for your invitation and for having me. And I really wish you a very, very interesting day today. Thank you.
So let's not be shy of our successes and let's try to make it understandable by most people. Thank you so much for the very kind words. I will now give the floor to Walter, who will be the master of ceremony for the rest of this webinar.
Thank you so much, Fabrice. Thank you so much, Rosalinda, for the inspiring words of hope. And let's take this positive message with us going forward in executing the strategic research and innovation agenda. To give you a little bit of a feeling what's in the SRIA, we are joined by the people who helped shape it, who have spent a lot of their time, of their institution's time, to help us get all the experts together, come to a European consensus on what are the priorities. So first of all, a big thank you to everybody here on the screen, and who I will introduce a little bit more in the going forward. Thank you for putting your time into this amazing document. As you can see, the content of the SRIA is based around the battery value chain. So we focus on the material side, raw materials and recycling and advanced materials, but also very much into cell design, manufacturing, and how these batteries will be used in the applications, both mobile and stationary. On top of that, we are looking at topics that are cross-cutting across all those sectors, and that are really uniting this value chain, and where the value chain needs to come together. So we're going to take these topics one by a time. Let me first introduce Victor Trapp. Victor is the head of sales and marketing at the Fraunhofer Institute ISC, and he is very active in the working group on raw materials and recycling and in the BEPA association delegation. And Victor will lead us through the priorities that have been put out in the recycling agenda, raw materials and recycling agenda.
Thank you very much, Walter, for the introduction. Yeah, so basically the first topic is divided into two separate parts, but it's all about materials. So first of all, I just briefly explain the strategic action for battery raw materials. As you are aware, Europe is not a leading spot for raw material extraction, so we are very much dependent on using raw materials and extracting and processing them in a very intelligent way. So and of course the sustainability is key. So we should not run extraction and processing of raw materials like it was done in the past. So there is a certain impetus to improve our processing capabilities and the refining as well. So this is something which is not new. This is more geared towards the lithium-ion batteries and the supply of the gigafactories, etc. There are basically three new kids on the block. While the sodium-ion batteries, they are about to enter the scene also for e-mobility, for example. So it's very important that Europe is not lagging behind in securing those resources. And again, similar framework, it has to be sustainable, less use of nasty chemicals, less tailings, etc. And of course, energy efficiency is key here. The bio-based raw materials is also another opportunity to increase our raw material base in Europe, and especially to have, in this case, a really renewable raw material base. So this is something which is now being pushed as well. And this is already then a nice bridge to the next topic. It's also very important now to look into the integration of secondary raw materials. As you probably know, there have been new legislations passed last year in Europe for raw materials, recycling, etc. And this is something which now needs to be pushed into higher TRL levels. So maybe you can show the next slide then. So here you see the very nice overview of the different actions, which I briefly explained. The yellow spots are indicating the TRL level, so you can see some topics are somewhat grown up, so to say. So they are about to be pushed towards TRL to high TRL 7 levels, and some of the new topics like the bio-based raw materials and sodium-ion batteries, for example, they are starting at a low level and should end up at TRL 5. So the next slide, please. The strategic actions for battery recycling, they are here divided into two topics. So first of all, as the streams are growing and the diversity of the battery cells and battery chemistries is increasing at the same time, we need to develop new technologies and upscale them, which should be more flexible and should also help to reduce the cost, at the same time also again be more sustainable, less chemicals, less energy, etc. Yet higher flexibility. So this is quite a challenge, but we are taking this on. And then also, as I already indicated, there are new emerging chemistries like sodium ion, solid state, etc. So those also need to be addressed at the same time to be prepared for them in the near future. Maybe you can switch the slides, please. So here you can see the picture. Again, the new kid on the block, the emerging chemistries, they start at a rather low level, so they really start just at 2, and should be extended to 4. And the adaptation of existing processes, etc. That's starting already at a high level, and they should be then be elevated to TRL 7 in this process. So this is basically my story. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Victor. That was clear. And now we're giving the word to Professor Silvia Boduardo of Politecnico di Torino, very active in the field of education, and we will get back to her later on that, but also chair of our advanced materials working group, and she will tell us about the new developments there.
So thank you very much, Wouter. So I take the head of the advanced material chair here. And let me say that this action today of this strategic research innovation agenda is giving a lot of floor to new materials and also having completely new topics that will be open next time. So the main focus will be focusing on materials for mobility on one side, materials for stationing on the other side, and finally also other activities. These are the 3 main blocks. Coming to materials for mobility, we have 4 main topics. First of all, still keeping liquid electrolyte in advanced generation 3BC. That still keep some good attention. So moving from a focus on safety of the previous SRIA to the design to cost chemistry now, to make them affordable for the future. And also development of design to performance chemistry. So both of the 2 topics should work together. Then, of course, the strong focus on solid state chemistry, developing generation 4C, but also scaling up the previous generation for A and for B. And finally, taking into consideration design to cost cathode that will be used in solid state configuration cells. So if you can move to next slide, please. Okay, so the new topic here, still for mobility, is the sodium ion that now came to become finally commercial. Of course, sodium ion can have double role, and this is something open still, and both for stationary for sure because of the energy, and also for mobility, that something is coming on, and we don't want to be back. Let me say that we are keeping 2 different topics in 2 different generations, that are the liquid electrolyte in generation 3 and the solid electrolyte in the generation 4. Just to go deeper, we decided to have the same wording, the same naming of generation as already we have now for lithium ion, in order to avoid any issues and changes, even if in the sodium ion we are a little bit back compared to the development of lithium ion. So finally, the last topic for materials for mobility is next generation sustainable batteries for mobility. So looking at far longer future. So next slide contains materials for stationary. And so here we have redox flow batteries, so bigger system that here in this group are expressed as vanadium flow, redox flow. It means that all the other redox couple are in other working groups. So here we want to go toward the commercialization. And then, of course, long storage, long duration storage, which is very important. So low cost per cycle in the case of a stationary application. And finally, high power application in grid. So materials for all these three topics are very important. So if we can go further, there are also a side topic in somehow that is not focused on the previous one, that are other activities also considering again self-healing functionalities with biomimetic materials. So this is at lower TRL, looking for longer future, keeping sustainability in mind. And finally, the accelerated battery materials discovery at interface engineering. That is an advancement again of what is already running, but as the importance is very high, is still active here. So we can see now in next slide the line, the timeline. You see in blue the already running calls, and the green ones are the one that will come in next SRIA. And as you see, both the topic I cited in generation 3 and generation 4 are in somehow development of something already available, and with the design to performance and design to cost chemistry coming as an important topic, and scaling up the market of solid state, which is really expected. So in next slide, you will see the line for the other development, so next generation of sustainable batteries and all the aspects related to stationary, as I told, with the long duration storage, which is something a little bit new, and high power application in grid that will come in next year too. And finally, in next slide, we should see please, the development. As I said, that we have this new entry of sodium ion that was not available before. So we have only the green part because it's something new coming in our new SRIA, and also these biomimetic materials for self-healing functionalities. That is something linked to Battery 2030, and again the development of the accelerated battery material discovery and interface engineering. I guess that's all, or next slide will be available for Daniela.
Thank you so much.
I try to keep in time. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much, and a really good overview. And just to stress that it's not only a research party. We had just at Fraunhofer Institute and Politecnico di Torino. Now we give the word to Daniela Fontana. She's Electrification Solutions Development Manager at Comal, and the chair of the working group on cell design and manufacturing. And every working group within the partnership has both a research chair and a industry chair to really have this balance and the two viewpoints and really get the best of both communities. So Daniela, if you can lead us through the manufacturing points, please.
Thank you very much. In our working group, we have developed topics, strategic actions for two groups of activities. The first one is cell design, and then for cell manufacturing. Regarding cell design, we have identified two strategic actions. The first is a safe and sustainable batteries by design. What does it mean? This means to translate this safe and sustainable by design framework into some guidelines that can actually be applicable to the battery sector. This means, for example, to evaluate the battery design and the related materials, taking into account the need of the possibilities of repairing the batteries, of reusing the batteries at the end of their life for a second life, and then for recycling, or also to consider not to reduce toxic and critical materials. So these are the topics that are inside this first action. The second one is related to the demonstration, production, and application of smart functionalities. Here we don't mean to develop new materials, new technologies for self-healing or sensing, but to use, to apply what has been developed in the past years and is going to be developed in this period to move forward to a higher TRL, starting from at least TRL 4 or even 5. Because we think that the next step is actually to demonstrate the capabilities of those materials in a real application, demonstrate their capability of being scaled up, the capability to build cells and batteries with those materials. And so there will be the need of the demonstration at pilot level and then in order to move then forward to production. If we move to the next slide, we see the timeline for these two topics. You see that the starting TRL are relatively high for both of them because we think in our working group we are working on mainly on the manufacturing. So we are moving from the activities that have been done at a lower TRL to a scale up. So both topics should start from TRL 4 or 5 and arrive to 6 or 7. Moving then to the actions for battery manufacturing, the first one is related to the establishment of processing techniques that are environmentally sustainable, both for the current generation 3, but also for the generation 4. So this implies, for example, the reduction of the energy consumption, the reduction of emissions, the minimization of the use of toxic and harmful chemicals, improve the safety of the processes, reduce also the costs, and so on. And most of those activities have been already started, in particular for generation 3. Batteries, and we need then to move forward to demonstrate the sustainability of those processes, looking at the following application to gigascale. Big important topic for the manufacturing is also the flexibility. The development of flexible pilot lines for current and next generation technologies. We are thinking here that we need to have some multi-purpose production lines that are then compatible with the different chemistries, the different cell formats, cell designs, process technologies that are emerging. Let's think, for example, to sodium-ion, to generation 4. So with this action, we think that we need to develop and validate at pilot level the flexibility of those pilot lines. Also help with the help of simulations to assess the applicability to the mass production. And then we have two topics related to digitalization, the development of advanced digital twins. The first topic is related to lithium-ion batteries, and as we'll see afterwards in the next slide, we'll see that we should start already at a relatively high TRL, because the idea is to implement the digital twins for product and process that are currently under development into to implement, to have the possibility to use them actually in production. So moving, for example, from just the prediction of the quality of the process to also the optimization of the process, the possibility to correct in real time if some issues are going on. And for this, as you can see here, the TRL should start from about 5, moving forward to the current call that is under the Horizon Europe to 7. And then we need to develop digital twins for the emerging technologies. This is a completely new topic, so the starting TRL will be much lower, and we hope to reach TRL 4 or 5 by 2030. For the other topics, again, the TRL is quite high. The starting TRL is quite high, unless for the sustainable production processes for generation 4 that is still at the development phase.
Thank you so much, Daniela, for the clear overview of what's happening in the world of manufacturing. Now we are moving towards the application side. I also see some questions coming in the chat. We'll address them later. So thank you so much for engaging with us. But now give the words to Franz Geier, the head of the technology cluster at BMW and the industry's chair on the working group on mobile applications. So take it away, Franz, for mobility.
Many thanks, Wouter. We can go to the next slide already. Here you see the 4 topics, the 4 strategic action for the mobility applications. And I will repeat them, of course, in the slide later on. Let's go from headlines to content, I would say. If you don't mind, skip these slides again. Okay, and then on the left-hand side, you see, again, these headlines shown on the slide before. It's on the high performance, cost efficient and safe by design battery systems. There are 2 topics to be addressed. The one is the advanced thermal management technologies for batteries in harsh and extreme conditions. Sounds a bit strange, but it is in our application area. We represent, of course, all applications like airborne, waterborne, road, off-road, and rail. And superfast charge is one of the topics that should be addressed here, and also in line with the kind of information level for the end user, whatever application is applied, for an optimal usage profile, which means ready for operation, but also having an eye on the impact of capacity and performance degradation when it comes to superfast charging, for example. And one example is also waterborne applications. The power requirement here for the batteries is almost each time to the peak power. Therefore, the reliability and the thermal management are very crucial for the topic of degradation. And overall, in this first topic, it's really about the development of reliable and thermal management systems that are making the battery able to operate in these extreme conditions. And therefore, we expect new cooling solutions, for example, compared to today. And all of this should probably then accompanied with digital twins to have more clarity and less, let's say, trial and error. The second topic in the strategic action 1 is then on high performance, cost efficient, safe by design batteries. I think that's obvious from an application point of view. It's about, and we've heard it before already, it's about replacing critical materials or at least avoiding them. So it means more material efficiency to really tackle the topic of increase cell energy and power energy increase in the cell and in the entire pack, of course. And having this said, of course, reducing the costs. And this should not limit it to be for the materials, but for the entire costs, including connection technologies, housings, peripherals, and everything else. And of course, if you're talking about high performance, it's about efficiency, lightweight, cell-to-pack integration, multi-type cell arrangements like different chemistries, but also talking about increasing the current more than 500 amperes and also talking about solutions exceeding 800 volts. It's about, again, on fast charging capability, which is an enabler, as I said before already, for the electrification. And 2 examples regarding fast charging capability for mobile applications in the road transport. For example, we are talking about 10 to 80% SoC increase in up to 15 minutes or below. And for airborne applications, it's 10 to 95 SOC increase in also up to 15 minutes, really to ensure the operational time, which is very crucial for the applications. And having that, all of this high performance is coming up with safety as well. So pack design, including flame retardant materials, should be also considered in this area to really prevent thermal events, let's say. Okay, and then the next strategic action is the advanced cloud-based battery management system. Here we have the topic on cloud-based data management for multiple applications, which already implicates where we are looking at. It's about advanced BMS systems that really can be that really ensure multi-transport modes or multi-use case abilities, but also this BMS should be provide embedded sensors for more diagnostics dedicated to the different use cases. The BMS itself can, of course, be completely new design, decentralized, for example, but also cloud-based topics can be addressed. And yeah, the overall thing is really to get the battery able to be applied in different applications. Then the next level is strategic action, is multi-physical testing. And the investigation topic is the accelerated multi-physical testing, because if you look, and we've heard it in the introduction already, time to market is a very crucial topic. Innovation cycles is also very crucial, and to really shortening the development time and also having an eye on the costs for development, test and validation. Of course, we need to minimize the experimental testing effort, and therefore we can then increase the innovation cycles. Really fostering innovations coming out of our European supply chain, and we can probably also increase decrease the time to market for advanced solutions or solid state or other chemistries said before. And we need to really work on the methods to reduce this testing complexity and efforts. And one way forward is, of course, simplified test strategies, a better understanding of the impact of the different operations, failure modes, aging, etc. And then design all of this knowledge into new and adequate testing methods that are ensuring the promise that we have in the test and validation phase for the lifetime, of course. And the last topic, I'm looking at the clock already. The last topic is demonstration, which is very important for the applications, of course. And demonstration does not mean that it is all paid by BEPA or but for you. It just means we need to show evidence on the results also with demonstration. And it can be, of course, joint topics with other partnerships like To Zero, Waterborne, etc. But this is really necessary to show the evidence also on the progress, but also novel solutions. Novel solutions can be probably for some areas, of course, battery swapping, but also new demonstrations can be shown for rail applications, and also evidence, as I said, on the very first topic for these waterborne applications. This is just a kind of taste on what we are thinking of in Working Group 5. Thanks, and looking forward to the panel discussion.
Yeah, thank you, Franz, for the overview. Now quickly go to Luigi, head of B2B and storage innovation at NLX, and executive board member of BEPA, and of course very well positioned to guide us through the stationary applications. So take it away, Luigi.
Thanks a lot, Wouter, for the introduction, and happy to be here today. Let's go to the strategic action and a quick explanation. The aim, of course, is having as much as possible renewable generation integrated into the grid as a mainstream source by the end of the decades, in line with our targets, European targets for decarbonization. Thinking to it, what does it mean? First, we have to think to the best usage as much as we can of this precious resource, which leads to the first action we see in the first bullet. Long duration storage will be for sure needed by the end of this decade at the high tier level. Then, of course, we need also to manage this resource, which is intermittent by definition, but must be managed as well for a stable system and in an easy way, in a smooth way. This leads to the second action, which is about the advanced battery management system. We need to easily, smoothly integrate battery, especially the BMS, with the demand of advanced system for the energy management system at a higher level, I mean. And in line also with the directive of the battery passport, so also having access to data which will be supplied in a massive way from the sensor inside of the battery themselves. Finally, we need to integrate these batteries into the grid at each level. In the utility world, we usually speak about front of the meter, so large scale power production sides, and both behind the meter, so application user side. This leads to the innovative solution for optimized battery solution again. If we go to the next slide, we can have more details. I will look to the larger, let's say, screen. So excuse me if I go with my site on the other side. So the first action is following the first issued in the 2020 when we started with BEPA. The next generation batteries for stationary energy storage. Then following, we have currently ongoing the call for no lithium solution batteries, again for stationary storage, and now the focus in the long duration storage with the aim to reach affordable system by the end of the decade, again able to reach at least I would say 10 hours of storage. So if we think to massive production renewable mainstream, again we need also to store this precious energy with again low cost and high efficiency is another parameter which we have to take in account if we move massive quantity of energy up to reach hundreds of hours of storage, both using let's say consolidated technologies or new chemistries at each level. The aim is to reach the level 7 of TRL by the end of the decades. Such solution should also be able to again integrate different technologies as well, with following the path of hybridization already used in the past. Then the second action, so battery management for optimized battery utilization. Here we follow up on the previous call on physical-based batteries. We need also to now to have a system deployed at the, again, high-tier level. So demonstration is a key for all the action you think to it. And what we expect to have from this BMS. Many times from the application side, we have the difficulties of integration of battery system with, again, higher level software for managing the system themselves. So we here the focus, I would say, it's more on interoperability and fast integration at each level, at every level, sorry, thinking to multiple technologies, but also multiple application system able to be upgraded perhaps in the future, and easily provide data and information for the needs, again, of the battery passport, which will be crucial in the next year to come. So we'll need to trace the origin of the batteries, trace the usage of the battery themselves, and provide this information with the proper level at each player into the supply chain. I will go fast. Then the last strategic action, integration. This is crucial as well. Again, we need to maximize the production, integrate easily, and then finally use in the best way at the both front of the meter side, so for the larger scale production, and also from the end users, which will be part or integrated part into the grid, providing services even to the grid operators for the stability of the grid itself. This follows the path of the hybridization in some way, but the focus here is more, I would say, on the EMS, so algorithms able to again provide the maximization of usage from the users and users. Think from the user side to a grid interacting actively, and a lot of prosumers, which are both consumers again and provide service to the grid for the stability. Think also to system and the software and EMS able to provide the best usage for the market. So the best performance, the cost affordable services of storage for the markets of energy, and again for the electricity system. I would say that's enough, and of course we are ready here for providing further information.
Yeah, thank you so much, Luigi, for giving this this overview. I think just to address a little question from the chat about lead acid batteries. I think it's an established in manufacturing industry in Europe, and as such was not on scope of developing in terms of new advanced materials and manufacturing capacity. That's very much focused on lithium ion and sodium ion and others. But these stationary application topics are generally written in a chemistry neutral way. So the best technology and best proposals win regardless of chemistry in that sense. Just to address that one. Yes. I see also some questions on specific topics. Those I would like to refer to the research inquiry service of the Funding and Tenders portal. I think those are best served there as well. Now I want to give the floor to Edel Sheridan, another BEPA board member, business developer at Syntev, also active in Batteries Europe and running task forces, so deeply involved in the battery ecosystem, and who will lead us through the transversal topics. Thank you, Edel.
Thank you very much, Walter, for the welcome. I hope everyone can hear me all right. Could we take the next slide, please? So I'm going to talk you through the transversal topics, and transversal topics, just to explain, they're topics that don't fit into any specific part of the value chain, but they really matter to every part of the value chain. So they are essentially topics also that are quite often requiring several different competence areas. So we've had some task forces that have looked at safety, sustainability, digitization, and education. And we are also currently looking at the social science and the humanities, and also hybridization in our task forces. So just to give you a quick view of some of the topics we identified via these transversal topics that are specifically not interwoven into the other areas, but that we kind of have taken out and said, okay, we need to do something on this. The first topic is the life cycle analysis and life cycle inventory development for next generation batteries and stationary storage batteries. I will provide a bit more meaning afterwards about this and where this concept comes out of. But this is looking at batteries that are not the traditional or not the lithium-ion batteries that we all know a lot about. It's kind of looking at batteries like the flow batteries, for example, and the next generation like sodium ion. Then the next topic we have is the battery passport, and developing them for batteries with external storage. And this again is looking at batteries that are not the traditional lithium-ion. And I will explain a bit in the next slide why that is. And the other topic that we have deemed very important is the development of educational specific pilot lines. I don't know if any of you have a pilot line, or but you probably know you're maybe not willing to let untrained people loose on it. It is quite an expensive piece of, not a single piece of equipment, but many pieces of equipment. And we need to educate our workforce. And how do we do this without having the actual equipment to train them on? So this would be to look at developing education-specific pilot lines. it could be somewhat physical pilot lines, but this won't work in all cases because this is quite an expensive piece of equipment. So it can look at how to use virtual reality to develop kind of mock-up pilot lines, and also augmented reality, where you have a pilot line to teach them how to do the adjustments before they actually put their hands into it and get stuck in. So it's really an excellent way of training people, and it is used today, for example, by some large microchip producers use it when they're training people up on their equipment. So it is used, but it needs to be developed specifically for the battery pilot lines. So this involves both digitization, and it also involves the education. And really, it will also involve a lot of different disciplines here in order to get this working. So we can go to the next slide. I'm just going to explain a little bit about the first two topics that are kind of where they've come out of. We have had a call earlier, which was on a topic of developing LCA and design for sustainable circularity. And this was a holistic approach to zero emission mobility and battery and related battery value chain. And this was a call that was co-organized by the 2.0 partnership and the Bat4EU partnership. So the project was granted, and the project is called Transversal. If I say it incorrectly, please forgive me. But it's a project that's up and running. But this is focused very much
LCA,
on... Yeah, this LCA, sorry. This is very focused on looking at the batteries for the EV technology. And this needs to be also done for batteries that are going to be used, for example, for stationary storage, for flow batteries, for high temperature batteries, for batteries that are very specific to stationary storage, and for also the next generation like sodium ion. We need to get some LCA and LCI. And that will also help to create a foundation for the next call that is going to be mentioned. The next call is also born out of a previous call that was creating a digital passport to track batteries, materials, optimize battery performance and life, validate recycling, and promote a new business model based on data sharing. Quite a mouthful. But however, the main idea there was looking at the batteries kind of that are used today. And what we want to look for is how to develop the battery passport for batteries that are not included in the scope, today's scope. So how to develop a battery passport, for example, for flow batteries, which have an external storage system. So that really is the focus of that. So it is at quite a high TRL level. So these are how these two projects were born. Or not projects, but what we hope will be eventually projects, but which are suggestions into the research area. And as I've mentioned, the development of the pilot lines, I think you all realize how important this is, and that we want to really develop this area. So they involve, each topic involves many disciplines and many tasks. So I think this should be of interest, and I think then we can take it away for the panel debate. I hope.
Thank you so much. Thanks so much, Adele, for going through these transversal topics. Let's go to the panel discussion. We have not as much time as planned, but I think it was really useful to go a little bit deeper into the SRIA topics to give people a really good overview. If you want to have the slides, you can. We'll send them out if you register to our newsletter. The link is in the chat as well. Now, for this panel, I am joined by Johan Blondel from the European Commission, DG RTD, the main policy officer for the Bat4EU partnership. Welcome, Johan. Johan, maybe to start off with you, and I see a question in the chat to maybe throw you a softball. Is it how can people find the results of the ongoing projects?
Well, there are many ways to do that, of course. We have Cordis, which is the big information channel that is provided by the European Commission that allows you to search on individual projects, also gives you their objectives and the public deliverables. Aside from that, we also organize together with the colleagues from SRIA, the implementing agency, clustering events where we bring like-minded or linked projects together and then jointly go through the results of these projects. So this is going to build up steadily, and as the partnership progresses, we will have more and more of these events really looking at the state of affairs across projects.
Yeah. Thank you. Look out for the Battery Heroes cluster, for example, will be present at the TRA, Transport Research Arena in Dublin soon, and the Solid 4B cluster on solid state will also organize a event in April soon. So those are two interesting ones to look out for. Let's dive into the questions, starting with Sylvia. Edel just mentioned this education part. You have been active in this linking European projects to academia and new researchers for quite some time. What's your main takeaway? How do these projects contribute to the education of our new workforce?
So thank you for this question, because it's something that it is really a cross-sectorial topic under all the aspects related to batteries. And let me say that we are going to develop some interesting initiatives that start from Battery 2030, moving toward Batteries Europe, in this position paper we are writing on education. We are doing a lot of work in engaging young scientists. A new community of young scientists is burning, and they will be launched during next annual conference of Battery 2030. And let me say that this is the best way to have both the link between the older and more experienced researchers and the new fresh brains that can really bring innovation there. So they already did some job in writing a new manifesto, and the new events will be done next year in June 2025. So then, of course, what was cited by Edel, the need of having infrastructure to educate people, not only for very young researchers, but also for any people that needs to be skilled and reskilled in the field, will be really strongly welcome. We really need the infrastructure fully dedicated to education and skilling people. In addition, just let me add that all these possible fundings are very useful to hire new PhD students that are starting working together. So new networks are always burning thanks to the European projects. And also this initiative like Batteries Heroes can be very important to have them on board.
Thank you, Sylvia. Victor, building on that point for broader education and vocational training, Fraunhofer has launched a huge pilot line soon. How do you look at that topic?
Yeah, just building on what Sylvia just said. So there's a big need already today for skilled workers for the gigafactories, etc. And there are a lot of challenges. In fact, we for example, in Germany, we need to reskill a lot of workers, which are, let's say, have to reorientate themselves into e-mobility. So there's a big option, a big chance for many companies as well. But we need some, let's say, educational let's say, real sites for on-site education. So we cannot just run it via web course or some electronic means, but we need those sites. For example, as you mentioned, the Fraunhofer Forschungsfactory FFB, which would be inaugurated pretty soon in 1 month. So we are pretty much gearing up towards making those sites available for reskilling or upskilling workers to be fit in the next few years to run or to work in these gigafactories.
Thank you.
I actually have a question for Edel, if I may. So we spoke about sustainability of the battery manufacturing. Could you give us an idea what are the key challenges, and maybe linking to the introductory words of my director, how do you see the articulation or the tension between sustainability and competitiveness?
Indeed, I think we have several challenges. We have already addressed the education challenge here, and I think this is progressing. I see a lot of change here, and that's not so much connected to sustainability. It is and it isn't. But I think one of the main challenges is our energy costs. We need to have a lot of green energy from renewable sources. So this is something I'm hoping that, and I can see the European Commission are aiming to make happen quicker, because when we look at, for example, the cost, and I refer to cost with regards to both our CO2 footprint and also our cost with reference to what it costs in euro. Our costs are very high for battery production here in Europe, because it's in the euros terms, it's 163 euro per kilowatt hour. And a lot of that is to do with energy, and that the cost of energy has to come down for us to produce batteries in a good renewable way, and we need to produce them with renewable energy. The other issue is the materials. We have the Critical Raw Materials Act, which will that has really gone a long way to accelerate the rate of setting up different initiatives. But the member states have to utilize that. They have to really get hold of it and utilize it and make a lot of these initiatives viable and make them happen, essentially. Not to make them viable, I believe that they're financially viable, but to support them, to help them come along. So I think this Critical Raw Materials Act will have an influence there. I think we have many opportunities in Europe through this. We have opportunities to train our people. We have opportunities to develop into really a huge new area. So I see this more as opportunities. Of course, there are threats, but this provides huge opportunities that we need to grab with both hands and go for it. So,
okay, thanks very much. Maybe a question for Daniela, if I may. So we spoke about the whole wealth of different chemistries and different battery types, which puts obvious demands on flexibility. So how important is it to keep the factories up to date, and how can the machinery producers contribute to that?
Oh, yeah, I think it's fundamental, actually, because as we said, the battery technologies are continuously changing, updating. There are new chemistries, there are new formats, there are new process technologies, and all of these because there are new needs that are requested by the market in terms of performances, safety, sustainability, all topics that we have touched today in this webinar. But this means that also the plants have to be adaptable to those new technologies, because otherwise it will be not possible for the battery producers to implement all of these innovations. So we have started the action refers to flexible pilot lines in order to have the possibility to study the sensitiveness, for example, of the different processes and plants, understand which are the real needs for flexibility, which are the needs of retrofitting, for example, of current equipment, in order to be ready for the new technologies. in particular looking at the current technologies based on lithium-ion. Then there will be the movement to solid state, there will be the movement also to sodium-ion. All of these aspects have to be taken into account. And also considering that the current global situation that we have, if we think starting from the pandemic, now the wars, it is really needed to be ready to react to some disruptive scenarios. So this is one of the big topics that we have discussed in our working group.
Thank you, Daniela. I'm seeing some questions in the chat. I see, Victor, you already answered them quickly about recycling scrap secondary streams. That's very much covered by the actions, I believe. But how do you see the prospects of recycling? Do you think direct recycling will play a role, or should we first getting this lithium-ion standard production online?
It's a very good question. We have to do both. So basically, it's a bit like if you look at this loop or the value cycle, it's like a spinning wheel. So you just have to take a choice when you start jumping into that. We have to do both basically. So one thing is we do have all these batteries out there, and much more will come. And we have to find smart ways how to disassemble then, and how to make let's say as much use out of the value which is found within the existing batteries, without again using too much energy, chemicals, etc., in order to retrieve the valuable materials and to reuse them. At the same time, it's quite so. This is then, for example, direct recycling is quite important in that one. However, the other side is, and this is more related to other working groups here, is the so-called design for recycling or reuse, where we have to start designing the battery cells or the batteries, not just for cost and performance, but also for reuse or for recycling. Which at the end of the day generates in the long term much more value instead of, let's say, producing it just for end of life and that's it. So I think but we have to reach to approach this from both sides, let's say.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, Victor. I'm very wary of the time. We are moving fast. I see a lot of questions coming in, so thank you everybody for engaging with us. I think what we have to do is collect them as well and provide the answers in a written fashion through the newsletter. I think that's the best way to do it, because we really want to work with all of you and get your inputs. If you're really active in these kind of discussions, feel free to join the partnership and our working groups. Go to our website and you can find our email addresses there. We're always happy to have an introductory chat if you want to know more and see how you can engage. I want to end with 2 more questions. First one, I think from Johan from the chat. There was a question on international collaboration within the Horizon Europe program. Can you divulge a little bit how that manifests in the calls?
Well, the principle is simple, because basically all topics are open to international collaboration outside the EU. It is only the funding for the entities outside Europe that depends on the economical status and the relationship that we have with the country in question. But you will see that in certain topics we already put in the requirement, not a requirement, a suggestion to collaborate with a given geographical area, really in view of the applications that are targeted. But like I said, basically everything is open to international collaboration.
Yeah. Then another, maybe a final question on European collaboration and getting these these results to the manufacturing space and into the market. For Franz and Luigi, you are very active in the IPCEIs, the important projects of common European interest, which are very more close to market. How do you see that link between Horizon Europe and the IPCEIs for getting these research results to actually get to the market? Maybe Luigi, if you want first.
Yeah, I can go. Yes, we are following the IPCEIs, both IPCEIs actually. What we see, it was a clear, crucial step now having the IPCEIs for the development of this supply chain in Europe. IPCEI covers the part, IPCEIs cover both the part which start from the first industrial deployment, also the R&D, of course, but the first industrial deployment is a specific task of the IPCEI. So means, how to say, moving these technologies which we are developing to thanks to the Horizon program, thanks to the R&D and I in Europe, to the effective industrial production. This first step is crucial again for developing this. We of course are in line with the target. We have a community nowadays, including starting from the R&D, pure R&D, up to the deployment, industrial deployment, and the targets are common if you think to it. No, we aim to have a green industry with affordable technologies, with abundant materials, which is became of course a very important driver. And having this means that we can actually cover this path towards a sustainable battery industry in Europe. The links are strong, and we aim also to make it stronger and stronger in the years to come. Going to the technology, of course, we are looking to abundant materials for, again, having batteries made in Europe, with materials also made in Europe, covering the full cycle, the recycling, as the IPCEI also indicates. And I mean, this SRIA is in the path towards this horizon, no? We have.
Okay, great, thank you. And Franz, how is it from the OEM side? How important for you is it to engage with the wider value chain and look at all these developments that are listed in the SRIA?
So the very important topic for the question on the collaboration with IPCEI and all the other initiatives like ours, but also national ones, we are all fighting for the same goal, really, to invent or to implement a European supply chain. And it was said in the opening speech too, based on European material supply as well. So this is for sure, this is one of the most important topics, because as Luigi as well, as an end user, or let's say as a economic operator in the end, placing the battery on the market, we are convinced that it's only really successful if you have a local for local so you really need to have, if your local market needs to follow the production, and especially for the battery, because this is a very heavy and very expensive part. And from a technology point of view, as Luigi already said as well, we need to have the low TRL transported to a high TRL to proceed it in a kind of IPCEI like today, or IPCEI Next or Innovation Fund topic, to get it to the market. And all of this, I think, is very good aligned. And if you look at the organization back in the days when we started the first discussion on IPCEI in 2017, I would say, we came to Brussels for a 2 hours meeting. Meanwhile, we have the Battery Week. And not limited to Brussels, but also to other countries in Europe. So we are really doing a great job, and we are going step by step forward. And on top of it all, there are other steps that need to be fulfilled as well. Some have been touched by Edel before, like the energy costs. We need to attract the investors too. It's not all the technology. It's a subsidy race too, and the global competition that we face. So happy to have all of this. Without them, we would have been not able to deliver, and this helps, but the efforts need to be increased, I would say.
Yeah, hopeful measures, but work to be done. Thank you all for joining this panel. I want to now wrap up and give a final words to Johan as part of the representative of the Commission, and Adele as board member of BEPA. So, Johan, take the floor.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, first of all, I want to once again congratulate and thank all of the hundreds of experts that have worked together for the past 1.5 years on this updated SRIA. So the question is, now we have the strategic research and innovation agenda, what are we going to do with it? So the first step is, of course, you know that we implement this partnership between the private side and the Commission through annual calls. And we are now working on the programming of the work program 2025. So in view of the available budget, in view of the list of priorities that have been suggested, we are negotiating now to see what can effectively be covered in this work program 2025. But I would also like to underline that the SRIA is supposed to be a living document. So we are not going to keep it as it is until the end of the partnership, until 2027. There is another smaller update that is foreseen that will be delivered in the course of next year. And that is then the one we are going to use as the basis for the programming for the work programs 26 and 27. Finally, what we're also going to do with this SRIA is to share it, not only within the European Commission with the other funding instruments, but also with the member states to make sure that we have an overarching European research agenda so that everyone knows what are the priorities, what is going to be covered by the partnership, and when can we anticipate the delivery of certain key technologies. So I think this is what we need to keep in mind. It's an important step forward, and we are going to keep building on it. Before I pass the word to Adele, just a little bit of internal promotion. This afternoon and tomorrow, we will have the Research and Innovation Days that are starting. They are celebrating 40 years of the framework program, how it contributes to a competitive, greener and fairer Europe. And tomorrow morning, there is going to be a session on synergies in transport and energy, where batteries are also going to be touched upon. So might be worth looking into that as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Johan. And I'd like to say a huge thank you to everybody who has joined us here today. I want to say a special thank you to those who have been involved in the development of the roadmaps in Batteries Europe, and then who have been involved in the strategic and research agenda of BEPA and Batteries Europe. This has been a huge, monumental task preparing this, which many of you perhaps just watching don't really see how much effort has gone into it. We have really gone through each and every part and really examined what needs to be done in Europe in order to bring the battery sector forward. So I would like to thank everybody who has been involved in this particular efforts towards this in the last few years, essentially. For those of you who've joined us today, please use the SRIA, utilize it. And as Mrs. van der Vlies suggested, I would like to give a message of hope, because I think we are researchers. We are quite resilient because we are working in research where you don't always get the answer the first time or the second time or the third time. We have to keep searching. So resilience really is what we essentially represent in this area, and the battery sector needs resilience. We really need this in order to move the whole industry forward. Resilience is the ability to dance with adversity, and I encourage you to continue the dance with adversity and continue to apply for Batteries Europe, to BEPA projects, Bat4EU projects, continue to develop batteries and continue to grow your businesses out there. Yeah, that's it from me, and I'd like to thank you very much.
Thanks again, all of you, for joining us here. Thank you all people who have been watching. Thank you for engaging, sending all the questions. We'll try to get you an answer, and we'll look forward to seeing you again soon in one of our events. We're planning to do a series of webinars doing even deeper dives than we did now on the different topics. So if you don't want to miss out on that, if you want to look more about raw materials and recycling, or more about advanced materials, please sign up to the newsletter, and then we'll give you the information when those webinars will be launched. Have a good afternoon.
Thank you.
Ciao.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye. Bye.